Welcome to the greatest podcast in sports betting entertainment. My name is Tanner Kern, certified G, bona fide stud, and you can't teach that. In this right here, this is G Money Grant Mitchell. We are here breaking down week 2 of the NFL and how Brian Callahan absolutely hates Will the Thrill Levis. And you can't teach that. Bada boom, man, the people in the room. G Money Grant Mitchell, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Doing pretty good overall, Tanner. Enjoyed the NFL as always. I got to say, I am, my body's a little bit not quite broken, but we're kind of teetering on it. Did that Spartan race I was telling you about over the weekend, and it was fun. It was a very fun time. The obstacles weren't necessarily as challenging as I thought they might be, but when you sit down at a desk and type for a living, just any sort of movement like that your body's not used to just makes you incredibly sore. So I've got soreness in like my ankles, my knees, different parts of my upper back, just things that are normally pretty stagnant. But yeah, still overall doing pretty good.
Was it a 5K with the obstacles?
It was well, nobody really knows. Online, it's listed as a 10K. On the starting line, when we're getting the little brief from like the race organizer, they said, we need you to know these go by Spartan miles, basically saying we don't quite know exactly how far it is. I was running with a couple of buddies. One of them had a Garmin watch on. The first mile was like 0.7 miles. And then the last one, I think, was 1.4. But all the ones in between there were right about. We finished at 6.1. That's exactly what a 10K or a 10K is 6.2. But it basically did come out to that. It's just I don't think the individual miles were broken down correctly.
Spartan miles. I like that. It's a good term.
It was a weird course too, because a lot of it was in the woods and it was very steep, up, down, up, down, up, down. But the trail, if the trail was a real trail, it would have been okay. As you know, as most of the audience knows, was a long distance runner forever, used to running on trails. This was just uneven ground that was slanted against the way you were running, and it was muddy and there were rocks everywhere. So you were almost it was almost like you were doing a ladder drill. You know what I'm talking about when you're working on your footwork? It was almost like you were doing a ladder drill every time you took a step. And then once you got back out into the open and you're at the obstacles, it was okay. But the woods part was brutal. We were expecting to finish probably about an hour 20, hour 30. Believe the average is usually about an hour 30. Took us like 2 hours and 5 minutes just because the footing was so awful.
That's tough. You know what else is awful, Grant?
What's that?
Will Levis.
I like the 2024 NFL meme maker.
I feel really bad for Will Levis because his coach hates him. Like Brian Callahan legitimately hates Will Levis. And you know, the sad thing is when a coaching staff or a front office does not draft that quarterback when a new one comes in, there's no ties. There's no, you're my guy. So it almost feels like the Tennessee Titans are trying to work Will Levis out of the starting quarterback position. And Brian Callahan is not sugarcoating anything.
No, I mean, I disagree that they're trying to work him out of it. You know, they built the team around him. They cut him those weapons. So, and Tony Pollard's been doing really well. Calvin Ridley had a very nice catch. The defense has been holding up. They drafted offensive linemen. So I don't know if they're working against him. I just think that he's not an NFL caliber quarterback. So he sticks out like a sore thumb.
He's an NFL caliber quarterback. I don't know if he's a starting NFL caliber quarterback. I mean, there's a lot of bad quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah, there are a lot of them, like a lot. It's hard to remember a time where you could just go up and down the rosters and look at the starting quarterbacks and think it's this many incompetent players.
Yeah, there's so many. And there were a lot of upsets on Sunday. But before we break all those down, make sure you check out WSN.com for all your sports news, information, prop bets, promo codes, everything you need to know. This podcast, you're going to become a better gambler if you go check out WSN. The world sport.
Absolutely. On top of everything Tanner pointed out there, two of us are also providing our best bets over there throughout the weekend. So if you miss a show or you want more picks, just go on over there and you'll find our best bets.
Definitely. So I want to go through the games right now, just one by one, and count how many upsets there were, because it felt like every game was an upset yesterday. If you have a survivor pool, chances are you're no longer in that survivor pool because all the favorites lost. So Buffalo, Miami, that was an underdog win. Saints, Dallas, that was an underdog win. Tampa, Detroit, that was an underdog win. Green Bay, Indianapolis, that was an underdog win. So 4-0 there. Jets won as a favorite, so 4-1. Minnesota won 5-1. Seattle won. They were a favorite. So 5-2. Washington, who was the favorite in that game,
We were
Grant?
favored by a point and a half.
Okay, so 5-3. The Chargers won 5-4. Cleveland won 6-4. Vegas won. That was huge. That's 7-4. Arizona won. I think Arizona was honestly plus 1.5 at opening. They were a 1.5 point dog to start.
They might have been to start. I think by the time the game kicked off, yeah, it was Arizona minus 1.5.
All right, so 7 or 8 there. Dogs win. Pittsburgh won. They handled business. Kansas City won. They handled business. Houston won. So there were like 7 or 8 dogs that won this weekend. And the Ravens were the most surprising, losing as an 8.5 point favorite. So, Grant, your survivor pool probably not going well. Mine's not going well. It's bad.
Yeah, last week I had the survivor pool pick that I told everyone about, where it was kind of me versus an entire community. And I had the Bengals and they lost, and I bought back in. I said, hey, I'll send $100 to one random person. You let me buy back in. They let me buy back in. I took the Niners and they lost to the Vikings. So I'm not doing it. I'm not sending out a free $100 every week just because NFL teams can't handle their business. So I'm out of the pool, I guess.
Yeah, the Niners just gave that game away. And I look at, a matchup like the Ravens. I felt the Raiders actually went out and won that football game more than the Ravens gave it away. The Baltimore just looked out of sorts. But, for the 49ers Vikings game, like the 49ers they caught 90, 98-yard touchdown, interceptions, fumbles. Like they just didn't play well enough to win.
I mean, listen to some of the stuff so these are all Niners possessions. You got a blocked punt, turnover on downs. You got 2 punts, interception, fumble, and then at the end of the game, you go touchdown, field goal, but it's too late.
So this just means the Jets are that bad.
The Jets barely beat the Titans. Let's keep that clear there.
Yeah, and the Titans are not good. And the Titans have some weapons. Like Tony Pollard's having a great season so far. I really like what he's been able to do, run the football, and it's helped Will Levis because he doesn't have to throw it for 300 yards a game to win. I don't think he's broken 200 yards yet in the first 2 games. But the Titans aren't a good team. The Jets barely survived. If you're a guy that's on the Jets over win total, you should probably be a little scared right now. If you're on the Bears over win total, you might want to be a little afraid just because of how the offense looks. But we'll talk about those in a minute, Grant. I want to focus on the Bengals and the Chiefs here. Kansas City 26, Bengals 25. It was pass interference at the end of the game. Pat Mahomes did not get bailed out by the refs. It was definitely a penalty. However, it's just another game where the Chiefs escape and find a way to win.
Yeah, I'm with you. It is absolutely pass interference. I don't think I know bailout isn't the right word because bailout kind of implies that it was unjust. They deserved the PI there. I will say I saw there's a stat going around on Twitter right now that since 2018, which is when Mahomes entered the league, the Chiefs lead the league and Mahomes leads the league in interceptions that have been waved off due to penalties. I think it's at 17 or 18 of them. And look, we have been in this situation a lot before where it feels like the refs are saving the Chiefs and they're saving Patrick Mahomes. And the thing is, the Chiefs are playing in a lot of big televised games. So we're always going to see them more so than we're going to see if it's Will Levis or, if it's Gardner Minshew throwing one of these passes that's controversial. And also, Patrick Mahomes is such a great player. Andy Reid's such a great play caller. Travis Kelce, great player, et cetera, that opposing defenses have to try to walk the line and make those aggressive plays. And when you are forced to do that, then you're going to make mistakes more often. So that's going to lead to things like the pass interference here that sets up the game-winning kick for the Chiefs. So I kind of hate that we do get boiled down in these calls and these topics because it was clearly a pass interference. I don't know what anybody out there wants to think. The defender showed up a full Mississippi, even close to 2 Mississippis early, takes the receiver out before they have a chance to make a play on the ball. You got to throw the flag. It is what it is.
And the throw was high too. That's the most painful part. Like he really didn't even need to do it. If he just plays the ball, he's knocking it down, and the Bengals are winning the game here. But looking at this one overall, it made me confident in the Bengals that we're going to get this playoff matchup again. It's going to be Bengals versus Chiefs, and the Bengals can go in there and win that football game with ease. They can find a way to do it. They have to be perfect. Like Jamar Chase yesterday, his meltdown because he wanted the hip drop tackle, that cost them too. That could have been a first down if they go and convert on 3rd and short there rather than being backed up and finding a way to squeak out a field goal there. So you have to be perfect when you play the Chiefs. We know that. But Joe Burrow looked just cool, calm, and collected in the pocket. Mike Gesicki looked really good. Jamar Chase needs to get a little more involved. But once you add T. Higgins into the mix now with this offense and how they looked in this game and how the defense rose to the occasion. I mean, the defense knows how to contain Patrick Mahomes. The Bengals have done a great job doing that in the games that they faced them. And that's one of the reasons Joe Burrow's been so successful there. So it makes me confident the Bengals can, one, get to the playoffs, but also find a way to go into Arrowhead and win if they're asked to do that.
Well, see, I think that's the traditional logic, and I think traditionally that would be correct. The problem is the Bengals seem to always get up for the Chiefs, and they always play down to the level of their competition whenever they face the easier teams. So, yes, you can look at this and say, this is a very good performance, should have been a win, if not for a DPI on fourth down against the back-to-back Super Bowl champions. Oh my gosh, everything is great. It's candy and roses. But the Bengals are 0-2 to start the year. We know that teams historically that start 0-2 usually don't make the playoffs. Now, the Bengals have a history of starting slow and turning it on. And also, we've got 7 playoff teams now. So you want to say they should be okay. But the fact is, we know that if they're going to play, I don't even know who's on their schedule. Here, let me go take a look. They've got the Commanders on Monday Night Football next week. Can we 1,000% say that they're going to show up and play their best football? No, I would pick them to win. But do I think Joe Burrow is going to go out there and put on a masterclass? No, I don't.
They'll go 2-2 to start the season. They're going to beat your Commanders, and then they're going to beat the Panthers. The Panthers are terrible. I could go play the Panthers. I could win that game. Then you got the Ravens. I'd say a win. I mean, I trust the Bengals right now more than the Ravens based on how that debacle went yesterday against the Raiders. The Giants won't have a starting quarterback. Daniel Jones will be benched by then. Brian Dable could honestly be fired by then. Cleveland, trash. Eagles.
This is the thing. You're assuming the Bengals are going to play at their best level, and they don't do that.
But they do after weeks 1 and 2. Like, they've been good after weeks 1 and 2.
I don't know. I'm just worried that they're getting to the position. We still look at Joe Burrow and Josh Allen differently, even though Josh Allen at his best, I think, is better than Joe Burrow at his best, just because there's more elements to his game. Joe Burrow has won the bigger games. He's beaten the Chiefs in Arrowhead. He's gotten to the Super Bowl. But this is 3-4 straight losses for the Bengals against the Chiefs. And I don't want them to get to that point where when we think of Buffalo, as good as they've been for the last half decade, we just totally disregard them because they can't win that game. The Bengals beat the Chiefs one time, but since then it's 3-4 straight losses, and they continue to talk like they are the top dog in the AFC. I just don't want that to happen to them.
I think Burrow I think he's 3-2 against Mahomes.
No, he's only beaten him one time.
No. That's not. Now Burrow's 3-2 against the Chiefs.
Okay, maybe it's one time in Arrowhead.
1-1 in the playoffs, 3-2 overall now after the loss yesterday. Because he was going to move to 4-1 if they won that game, and 1-1 in the playoffs.
My bad. I guess it's one time in Arrowhead that he's beaten him.
Yeah, and 1-1 the playoffs, so the significant games. But Burrow looked so confident and calm yesterday, and he does in those games against Patrick Mahomes. So they just got to get there and get to that game, and I would pick them, I think, if I had the opportunity to in the AFC Championship game, if it was at Arrowhead once again, because it's kind of a wishy-washy scale. I was looking at that game yesterday, I'm like, this is Eli Manning to Tom Brady. And it didn't come through, obviously, but if you don't have the DPI, they find a way to win the game.
And let's be very clear, Mahomes looked awful yesterday.
He looked terrible. But that's how he kind of looks against the Bengals traditionally. He's not super dominant against them.
I mean, I agree. He doesn't play at his level, but I believe going into this game, I think he had a better QBR than Burrow in every game they played except 4-1. So it hasn't been elite quarterbacking by either one of them whenever these teams have played.
Mahomes hasn't really looked great in either game to start the season. I know he threw for 291 against the Ravens. The pick didn't look good in that game. And then also he just hasn't, Mahomes is so special because he can evade pressure and he can get out of the pocket and extend plays. If he couldn't do that, you remember those big plays when you're looking at him more than the stat sheet. I remember him getting out of the pocket yesterday more than what he did, throughout the game.
And it's interesting too, because his first year he went for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns. That was stat sheet, but that was also him hanging in the pocket and just going bombs away. And now the Chiefs don't do much of that anymore.
Well, the Tyreek Hill, getting rid of Tyreek Hill or letting him walk is just, I don't know how they did that. I would have paid him whatever that man wanted.
Well, I don't think you can criticize it because they won 2 Super Bowls.
But if you had Tyreek Hill now with Patrick Mahomes, it would just be a cheat code. But that's why you're getting the Patrick Mahomes bombs away quarterback early in his career with Tyreek more than what you're getting now, where you're just kind of playing field possession, clock control, all that stuff.
Yeah, I would still like to see them add somebody. Now they thought they did because the Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy, but apparently Hollywood Brown probably isn't going to play this entire year. And Xavier Worthy, I get you might not trust a rookie that's 165 pounds to be that guy immediately. Maybe that starts to shift as the season goes on, but they use his speed right now, but he's not taking the top off the way Tyreek was.
No chance. Moving into Sunday Night Football, we had the Bears and the Texans. I kind of felt sorry for Caleb Williams in this football game. Not that he played well, because he didn't protect the football one bit, but he also didn't have a lot of support with the offensive line. I mean, number one, I think before we talk about the quarterbacks, Matt Eberflus challenging the pick that bounced off the ground when you couldn't afford to lose another challenge. Stupidity. That's why he should have been fired. I don't know if you had any thoughts on that, Grant, but that was kind of the moment where I'm like,
I just love that he challenged the what was it, the Nico Collins catch that happened right in front of him.
Yeah, clearly 2 feet. But you know what though? That was the one where he grasped it to his chest. That was a little more like on the border because 1 foot, like the foot hit simultaneously as he caught the football. The pick fully bounced off the ground. Yeah. There's no denying that.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it happened in the Brian Dable challenged one too. They challenged a catch. It's just I don't know what you're looking at. It takes because the coaches don't make the decision to throw the challenge most of the time, right? Like they've got assistants and people that are looking at it and they say, "Hey, challenge it. This is the right one this is the right call to make." I want to know what those people are seeing because as soon as you see one replay, you know that the play is fine.
Yeah. It was bad. CJ Stroud looked good. 23 36, 261 touchdown. Was under a lot of pressure last night. Still found a way to play really well. Tank Dell is a bum. Just going to put that out there. He's a bum. And then we had Caleb Williams, 23 37, 174, 2 picks, 7 sacks for 40 yards. He was just throwing the ball up in the air, but he also had no time. And Grant, you have a stat that kind of shows how he had no time.
Yeah, so Caleb Williams threw the ball 37 times last night. He was pressured on 36 of his dropbacks. And I don't mean they blitzed, like they got actual pressures on the quarterback, a real stat. Danielle Hunter and Will Henderson combined for 17 between the two of them. So, yes, he didn't look good. And I'm not trying to absolve him from anything here, but he also was put behind the 8 ball by his offensive line because Houston, they were just bringing pressure from all angles. And by the end of the game, I mean, they could bring 4 guys and they were still, collapse in the pocket. And Caleb he looked totally overwhelmed. I actually thought that first drive he came out and he looked amazing. He was making timing throws. He was throwing the ball with leverage, not just to the receiver, but to a position where they could get it and go into the run after catch, or the defender couldn't get to it. By the second half, with his team trailing and with the offensive line struggling so much, that's when he started to make some of those horrible throws. A couple of them ended up in interceptions. So I think with just more time and maturity, he'll be able to learn that as frustrated as I am, I can't turn the ball over. But like you said, his offensive line still bears a huge amount of responsibility for this loss.
And he ran the offense well early in the game. The offense looked clean, efficient, short checkdowns. They didn't have time to take the top off the defense, and it was just a bad night for the entire Bears team. I kind of felt like the Bears are going to come back and win this game throughout the night, third quarter. Like the Texans just weren't putting them away. And based on what we saw all day, it was underdogs coming, staying alive and find a way to win games. But every time the Bears touched the ball and I watched first down and then like second down, I'm like, okay, they have no chance of scoring a touchdown here. They just can't do it. Not that the Texans defense are the best defense in the world. I mean, they're very good. They have some big time playmakers, but the Bears offense is just trash right now.
Yeah, and the Bears, it also stinks because the Bears defense has been awful for years. And ever since they got Montez Sweat, I mean, they have been awesome. If you hold the Houston Texans to 19 points on the road in primetime, it's a really good showing, especially with how good CJ Stroud is. I know Stroud's numbers weren't amazing in this game, but I got to say, just the plays he does make, how he doesn't turn the ball over, how calm and stoic he seems, I'm all in on CJ Stroud here. I know that we went through the same sort of deal with Jalen Hurts because Jalen had the one year where he started in the middle of the year, but we kind of don't count that one. Once he got his first full year as the starter, that's the Super Bowl year. And everybody was saying Jalen Hurts is a top 5 quarterback. And then we probably don't put him there anymore. I think we kind of went through the same sort of thing with CJ Stroud, where after his rookie year, it's like, okay, is he actually a top 5 quarterback? I've got my chips all on him. He looks awesome. My favorite play was the one where he gets it, he runs backward, rolls out to the right, he's falling out of bounds, kind of throws across his body, and I think he hits Nico kind of in the middle of the field. Dude's awesome.
I think Baker's pushing top 5 too right now, Grant.
On performance through 2 games, absolutely. Is he a top 5 quarterback in the league? No shot.
We don't know.
He's fighting for top 10, which he's
top
climbing,
10 now.
and you'll take a top 10 quarterback.
Oh yeah, Baker now in a good system. He's a dog. So Grant, before we move on to our next topic and talk about Jayden Daniels a little bit, I want to go through the Bears' schedule here over 8.5 wins. Let's see if they can hit it, because this is one of the most bet win totals this season. So they're 1-1 right now. They really should be 0-2, but they're 1-1 at the Colts. I'm going to say it's a win.
It's going to be tough because I still have so much respect for Shane Steichen, but man, Anthony Richardson doesn't look like he can throw.
He's terrible. They should have known that. I don't know why Anthony Richardson was such a high fantasy pick. I don't know why they valued him. The man barely played at Florida. He couldn't throw at Florida. Why do you think he's going to be able to throw in the NFL? Just because he's a freak of nature.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reason right there. It's the fact that he can run and he can throw it. I mean, that throw in week 1 was, I think it was the third longest completion since Next Gen Stats started. And he threw it off his back foot falling down. Like, that is why you get drafted that high. But then you expect him to fill out the rest of his game, and it just hasn't happened yet.
No, not even close. So we'll call it a win. It's going to be a tough win because I think the Colts are going to bounce back, but I'm going to say it's a win. So you're 2-1 now. I think you lose to the Rams, maybe. Probably.
I think that one's tough now with the offensive line injuries. Puka Nakua's out for a while. There's a chance they win that.
Let's call it. How about 1-1 between those 2 games? So 2-2 after week 4. You're going to beat the Panthers, so you're going to be 3-2. Versus the Jags versus the Jags in London.
London is the Jaguars' second home. So
you're right. So probably 3-3 after 6 weeks. Commies, week 8.
I think Bears defense wins them that game.
Okay, so 4-3. Cardinals, 4-4.
Cardinals look all right.
Yeah, 4-4. Patriots. Tough one. Both good defenses.
Yeah, I see that being like a 16-13 type game.
So let's say between the Patriots and the Packers in week 10 and 11, you're going to lose 1, win 1.
Yep.
All right. So after 11, that's 10 games. So you're what, 5-5 now?
Mm-hmm.
5-5.
So you need 4 more wins the rest of the year.
Okay. So Minnesota, home, probably a loss.
Probably.
But they're hosting that game though. So let's say it's 5-4. You're going to lose to Detroit and the Niners in the next week. They're going to split with the Vikings. So right now you're 5-5. You beat the Vikings at home. You're 6-5. You're going to lose to the Lions and the Niners. So you're going to be 6-7. Then you're going to lose to the Vikings again. If we're splitting those games, you're going to be 6-8. Then you have the Lions again. You're probably 6-9, right?
Yep.
And then you got to beat the Seahawks and the Packers to end the season to get to 8 wins. So you go under 8.5.
Yeah, I don't disagree with the breakdown too much. I think they're more likely to go under right now. Now, the big question is Caleb Williams going to start to settle in? Because if he does, that changes the calculus on everything. But with what we've seen from 2 weeks, I think you're right.
Yeah. But you got to steal one of those games too. Like we were pretty straightforward, like better teams winning. You got to steal a few of those games to have a chance to go over 8.5 wins.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Grant, Jayden Daniels looked pretty good yesterday. He's definitely the best looking rookie quarterback. I don't know if he's going to have a good NFL career or not, because I'm worried about how he plays, but he looks good.
Well, the funny thing was he tucked it and run. He was running so much. We were talking before we started recording that he's not making mistakes he's not turning the ball over. He's not making bad throws. When he throws the ball, it goes to the receiver. His accuracy is actually kind of crazy. He's completed 75% of his passes so far. Would not be surprised if that's leading the league or right up there. The thing is, early in the games, especially when he's not trailing, if his primary read isn't 100% open, he's not throwing the ball. And I think he's just too hesitant. He's trying so hard not to make a mistake that it's resulting in him also not winning the game. But he, as I was saying, he was scrambling around a lot. There was one play where he got clocked. Two guys hit him at the same time. One of them hit him with his helmet in Jayden Daniels' ribs. He had to come out for a play. They put him back in, and he stopped running, and he sat in the pocket, and he actually started dicing up the Giants a little bit. So I think, we're really switching sports here. Do you remember the Deontay Wilder Tyson Fury trilogy? Do you remember the first fight where Wilder knocks Fury out in the 12th round, or maybe it was the 10th round? And, Tyson Fury is out cold, and then all of a sudden he gets up and he actually wins the final minutes of the fight after that happened. And he realized it's because I was so afraid of his knockout that I was playing on defense. I was playing with my speed. After that happened, he went forward and he actually started attacking Wilder. And that's when he figured out, wait a minute, he can't handle it. He can't handle this. I think Jayden Daniels might have gotten a moment of like, he got hurt running the ball. He said, my ribs hurt too much. I can't take chances running. I got to hang in the pocket, throw it. And then he started completing some passes. So I think the Washington coaching staff is probably going to take that film and say, hey, look, your reads are open. We know you have the accuracy and the strength to make these throws. You just got to trust yourself to do it. And they're playing the Bengals in primetime next week, which is not an easy opponent. But if he comes out and he's not running the ball as much to start, and we actually see him start to make more of those throws consistently, then yeah, I think he is clearly above where Caleb Williams is at and where Bo Nix is at right now.
Oh yeah, clearly above Caleb, clearly above Bo, and I can respect the fact that he's not going out and making the mistakes. Like I'm okay being a little hesitant. Like, and this is the year to make mistakes if you're going to do that. But I respect the fact that he respects the football, because a lot of these other quarterbacks don't respect the football right now, and you have to. That's key. I mean, if you just give like yesterday, if he throws some of those passes that he maybe wasn't comfortable throwing, they might not win that football game. So the fact that he just doesn't turn the ball over, that's a huge plus.
Yeah, and his numbers, I mean, we're 2 games in and he doesn't have a passing touchdown. He's got 2 rushing touchdowns, but 70
Bo or Caleb though.
Yeah, and 76% completion percentage, 271 yards of total offense per game. Those are good numbers. So if you just start to get the touchdowns there to match it, you look back at that game the Commanders played against the Giants. They had 430 yards of total offense. They had 7 scoring drives. You look at that and say that is a recipe for success. It's just those field goals got to start to become touchdowns. That's where the next step happens.
I think the Giants are the first team to score like 3 touchdowns or something and not give up a touchdown and still lose the game.
Yep, that is correct.
Brian Daboll could be one of the most stupid coaches I've ever seen in my life. I had the 4 games going on YouTube TV, and I had the audio of the Bucks game on in the corner. So the Giants game is up on top, and I just suddenly see, the Commanders have the ball at the 2-minute warning. I thought they were going to kick on 4th and 4. Why wouldn't you kick? You haven't given up a touchdown all day long.
You're talking about why didn't the Giants kick?
Why didn't the Giants kick on 4th and 4?
So Graham Gano was injured going into the game. The opening kickoff, Austin Eckler houses it for a touchdown. Now, it ended up getting called back for a penalty. I think it was a holding. But as Graham Gano was chasing him down the field, whatever injury he had, I think it was in his groin, he ended up pulling or tearing something, and he was out for the game. So they had no kicker.
They had no kicker. Okay, so that's why they had a touchdown. Okay,
that's why they scored 3 touchdowns and only had 18 points. They went for 2 all 3 times, and they didn't make any of them.
Your punter can't kick a field goal?
Actually, I lied. I think they had the punter attempt an extra point, and he missed it. And then they went for 2 the next 2 times, and they didn't get it.
Personally, 4th and 4, 22-yard line, 32, 39-yard kick. I'd tell your kicker to go kick you tell your punter to go kick into the net and try to make that. Wouldn't you?
Are you allowed to do that?
Yeah, your punter can go kick. Anyone can kick a field goal for you.
No, but I'm sorry. I thought you meant have your punter punt it into the net.
No, I think you could drop kick it, but no, like have him practice kicking, make sure he goes out at halftime and starts kicking the shit out of the ball. And hopefully because you're telling me a professional punter can't make a 40-yard field goal in the NFL?
No, I'm with you on that. I think it was, I don't know if it happened or not, but I'm with you. The right thing to do would have been, hey, the entire halftime, you don't come in. You're practicing field goals. Start with a 5-yard kick and then slowly move it back. See where you can make 70-80% of your kicks, and we'll call that your range. And then we can operate with that moving forward for the rest of the game.
Yeah. It's a tough situation there. I didn't realize that the kicker got hurt, but that's an NFL punter should be able to make a 40-yard field goal.
I will say also though that kicker injury does kind of encapsulate the importance of a front office, because it's way too early to say if Washington's front office is doing a good job or not, but they care. We can tell from all the moves they made. And one thing that happened was they traded with Cleveland to get Cade York. The Commanders had Brandon McManus on their payroll. He has some off the field legal issues. I don't want to say exactly what, because I'm not 100% certain, but I believe it was something domestic, something or another. They have to release him from the team. They have a competition, blah, blah, blah. They trade for the Browns for this guy, Cade York. There's a condition that if he plays 2 games, then the Commanders have to trade a 7th round pick to Cleveland. Plays 1 game, misses two field goals. They release him. They sign this guy, Austin Siebert, who comes in and goes 7 of 7 from, field goals, and they end up winning the game. While all of that is happening, the Giants have one kicker, Graham Gano, who they know is injured. They don't do anything. And he gets injured on the first play, literally the first play of the game, the kickoff. And now you've got no kicker for the rest of the game. It's those types of differences in front offices that, as silly as it sounds, that can be the difference of a whole season. If the Giants somehow win 8 games this year, well, it could have been 9 if they won that one. And that could be the difference between the playoffs and staying at home.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think I could drill a 40-yard field goal. Not in an NFL game, but I'd have the leg for it. Punter should be able to do it.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
I remember I posted the video on WSN TikTok last year. It was like making fun of the Cardinals kicker. Who's that?
Which Cardinals? I don't remember who it was last year.
It was, the video I'm talking about?
I do know the video, yeah.
His family was coming. Matt Prater, his family was coming after me in the comment. I had his sisters coming after me. It just kept. It was at 20,000 views, and then I put my phone down. And I'm like, oh, okay, it's good. It's it's slowing down. And then next morning I wake up, it's at 300,000 views, and I'm like, oh my god. Then I see the Prater family, and they're flipping out on me, and people's like, you couldn't make a 40-yard field goal with the laces backwards. I'm like, yeah, I could. And then but kickers are great people too. They're people.
Well, you said, I think I remember you saying one time kickers shouldn't be a part of football.
I don't think I said that.
I think you might have said that one time.
I don't think I said that one.
Maybe you said they're not real football players or something.
I agree. I don't think they're real football players. I think they're kickers.
I mean, they're on the team.
No, they're real football. That's not the right word, Grant. I think they're football players, but they're not. They're kickers, punters. They're kickers and punters.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm just messing with you.
They're not going in the trenches.
The other rookie out there, Bo Nix. I don't really know how much time we want to devote to him. I got another stat, Tanner, on passes that travel at least 5 yards downfield. So they could be 5 yards exactly, just past 5 yards. Bo Nix is 11 of 36. He has 212 passing yards, no touchdowns, 4 interceptions. His 30% completion rate on these passes is the lowest in the league by 6%, and the worst figure through the first 2 weeks of a season since 2014.
Bring in Zach Wilson.
I don't know how much worse it can get.
Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson's out right now. He's inactive. Okay, so he's just the backup. Bring in Zach Wilson. He's that guy.
I don't think he's that guy, but I know that Bo Nix is not the guy. My mom is a Broncos fan, and we were talking about Bo Nix. My mom's an eternal optimist, and we were talking after week 1, and I said, it's over. And she was saying, no, you can't say that. And I said, look, some people just don't get time. Anthony Richardson, again, he got time because of the throw he made. In Jayden Daniels' case, he's not turning the ball over. He's getting the yards. He gets time. Caleb Williams, we saw his college highlights. He gets time. Bo Nix, it took him 6 years to be good in college. It took him going to an elite program like Oregon, having more snaps than anybody of the history of the sport, to finally look good. Once you get to the NFL and the clock has totally reset and he's one of the worst quarterbacks we've seen in the last decade, he doesn't get time. He should be out. He should be out of a job, not out of a job, but out of a starting job within the first 4 to 6 weeks of the season.
Well, that's the hard thing about the NFL is the fact that you don't have time. It stands for not for long. You need to perform right away and you need to show some quick upside. And that's why, like, you know, looking at Drake May, Drake May is in the best situation of any rookie quarterback right now because he's not playing and he's buying time and he's learning and he's getting better. So next season, when he does start, if it's next season or in the middle of the season, you at least know that, hey, this dude's still a rookie. He's never played before, but he still has a year of experience. And that's valuable because Caleb Williams looked really good in the preseason. A lot of these quarterbacks look good because it's just vanilla defenses, no blitzing, very simple offensive line one-on-ones, quick passes. Now you get in real games, these guys can't do it. And they shouldn't be able to do it. It's hard to do it right away. So, you know, looking at Drake May, he's in the best situation because you need to learn.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's funny. I liked what you said there about high scoring in the preseason. Broncos led the league, I believe, in preseason scoring. And that's where a lot of the Bo Nix, hey, did we get the fleece? Did we fleece them? Was this a steal of the draft? Do you remember Sean Payton said, yeah, I fooled the Vikings into taking JJ McCarthy so that I could take Bo Nix here. Obviously, we haven't seen JJ play, but we have seen Bo Nix play, and it's not looking good. And also just kind of wrapping this up, I guess, but I was thinking about this earlier when you mentioned Brian Daboll. Like, Brian Daboll might get himself fired because he won Coach of the Year. Because he did such a great job coaching the team, he got Daniel Jones paid, and that decision is ultimately going to get Brian Daboll fired. Sean Payton goes to Denver, has Russell Wilson, says, no, I want him out of here so that I can make my own pick. He picks Bo Nix, and the Broncos, I think, are going to win like 3 or 4 games this year. And if that happens, you kind of got to fire Sean Payton. He has not shown anything to suggest he is an elite coach ever since he came back. You know, we know he was great with the Saints, has not been even close to average with the Broncos.
No, if Sean Payton wants to save his job, he should have started Jarrett Stidham, brought Bo Nix halfway in through the year because that extends you another year because at least you can say, I need year 2 of Bo Nix after 7 games starting.
Yeah, I agree. And we said on the show when they traded for Zach Wilson, to us, that was an indication, oh, they're tanking. They're not taking a quarterback here. They're going to take the top quarterback. They're going to take a Carson Beck, a Shador, whoever it was. And that's just not what they did. They opted to take the 6th best quarterback in his own draft class, knowing that maybe one quarterback per class works out.
Yep. Well, Grant, that was right the line for post week 2. Can't wait for intro to week 3 coming up on Thursday.
Who do we have? Do we know who we have on the Thursday night game?
Pats, Jets, big one. What's the spread? That's going to be a fun game because the Patriots could win that game pretty easily, I think.
It's Jets -6.5.
That's Patriots +6.5 hammer.
Aaron Rodgers did not look good.
The Patriots probably won't score in that game, though, going against the Jets defense. So it's a tough one.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, I might do a team total here. I could see. I don't think the Jets are getting more than 17 points. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, I don't know how many people watched that game, and going back to week 1, he just doesn't look great. Yeah, he's got so much natural ability that he's not going to completely fall off a cliff, but he doesn't look like a Super Bowl quarterback. He doesn't even really look like a playoff quarterback. He completed, I think he completed 18 passes against the Titans, and half of them were to running backs. This is just what you should expect. He's going to throw it to running backs. He's going to throw it out of bounds. He's going to protect his touchdown to interception ratio. He's not going to throw deep balls.
No. Well, Grant, we're going to break that game on Thursday, but looking forward to it as the semi-Pats fan now. So, Grant, why don't you take us out of here?
That's going to do it for this episode of Ride the Line, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Before we and you get out of here, make sure you do hit that like button, hit the subscribe button as well. Tanner and I will catch you all on the next episode of Ride the Line.